Hey guys, IcyCat here. Recently I got a chance to go out to Ubisoft and put some hands-on time with Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now if you want to know more about some of the features and find out what I thought about the game as I played, then stick around as I'll talk about that next. I actually wanted to get this up yesterday, but someone has been out on leave for the last week at my full-time job, and it's doubled my workload. Since I make most of my content on my lunch breaks and at work usually, I just haven't had the chance to get this out as fast as I wanted. But with the closed beta being announced, for those that were invited to it the weekend of Friday, February 3rd, this is a great time to get a closer look at the game itself. Closed beta invitations haven't been released yet for who got selected and who didn't, so keep watching your email for those notifications as the date gets closer if you are already registered for the beta through the official website. Recently, I was invited to Ubisoft where I had a chance to spend some hands-on time with Ghost Recon Wildlands. When I made the announcement that I was going on Facebook and Twitter, I asked everyone what they'd like me to find out about when I got there. Unfortunately, I'm not able to answer everybody's questions. Some aspects of the game are still covered by the NDA, and I just can't talk about them. Other things are oddly already talked about or revealed publicly in other ways, but we still were asked to stay away from those topics. So chances are, if you asked a question and I wasn't able to answer it here, that's probably why. I mean, this is all pretty standard fare for restricted access to early preview builds of games in the industry, even this close to launch. After creating your character at the beginning of the game, you're inserted into the opening region of the world with either your AI team or your co-op friends. You have 2 starting primaries and 1 secondary handgun available to you initially. There's not even really any attachments on them, as you'll be beginning with just iron sights from the get-go. You find attachments and new weapons as you play the game, hidden in various arms locations scattered around the map. I'll talk more about that in a later video. Initially, you're only given a couple of locations on your world map to start with, but as you unlock intel, then new missions, objectives, side quests, and things like that begin popping up in your map. And as you explore more of the game world, your map view reveals more and more. It doesn't take long before what started as 1 or 2 spots in a small section become dozens of missions or side quest locations scattered around an ever-growing region. Missions come in a variety of types, from secure the hostage or kill the MVP, to find the intel or hold down an area of control, and there's actually a lot of different kinds of missions you can play. Side missions can have you doing things like doing quests for the rebels or finding items to build your inventory up and other non-story-centric subplots. And that first region you start in is big. Actually, they're all big. This is a huge game. In order to get around, you're going to need to make use of the many kinds of vehicles found all over the place, because walking everywhere is going to take forever just to get from one objective to the next, not to mention anything further out. Driving vehicles feels kind of like playing a Grand Theft Auto game, as you steal transport you can find laying around or force drivers out at gunpoint. The steering mechanics aren't as loose and goofy as a GTA game, but there's still some easy oversteering and fishtailing to deal with at high speed. Then there's the aerial vehicles. Helicopters can be a bit cumbersome to fly. I found myself battling sometimes on a controller between gaining elevation and moving forward. On some games it's not a challenge, but in this one I definitely found myself battling the balance between the two sometimes. Eventually you do get used to it to a certain degree, but other games have certainly handled flight profiles better. Airplanes don't fare any better. With no proper yaw, pitch, and roll, turning isn't as fluid as you'd like, and taking off is pretty easy, but landing is often more of a struggle to get right. Sometimes it results in more of a controlled crash than anything else. Again, with time you can master a little bit more control over it though. The landscapes in the game are, frankly, panoramic. There's no other word for it. The natural vistas are a lot to take in, and this game has a draw distance that seems to go on forever, particularly when flying or parachuting or anything else up high. The game does an excellent job at rendering believable detail and making you feel like you really are really high up and seeing very far away. In the game world, if you can see it, you can pretty much go to it. The views are amazing, as are the lighting effects, especially at sunrise or sunset. Not to mention the weather. This isn't Skyrim where it's like, hey, it's gray and you get some raindrops for like 2 minutes and then it clears up. No, the weather can get downright vicious. And while you can get some normal rain, there's also some pretty nasty storms that can roll in with dynamic lighting from lightning strikes and torrential downpours while all the trees and bushes are swaying in heavy wind. And it can last for a good long time sometimes too. Afterward, the ground is full of puddles and textures have wet effects until they dry out, further lending to the sense of realism in the game world. In fact, one of the only real immersion breakers for me is the lack of doors in the game. If there's a door, it's pretty much a building you can't enter with the exception of a few that you can kick down, but apparently not open in any other way. But even those are really rare. By and large, if you're meant to go in a building, it simply doesn't have doors in the first place, nor are there any interior doors. This honestly feels a little weird to me, Just like Rainbow Six, the bad guys simply removed all the doors in the game world for the buildings they got set up shop in, apparently. At Wildlands, it feels even stranger though, because it's not just a single building like in Siege, but rather almost every structure in the entire country of Bolivia has had their doors removed. You can find even more detail in the NPCs in the game world. They populate villages and other areas and can be seen doing things from transporting goods to farming to fixing their cars. But when the gunfire starts, they'll drop and run. Even the enemy AI has its own schedule. Tackle a big compound during the day and enemy density will probably be high, but wait until at night and half the guards will be getting some rack time, allowing you to have less potential enemies to take out as long as you're quiet about it. Otherwise, if you're detected, even those will wake up and come searching for you. Playstyle is a big component to the game. Theoretically, you can ghost anything with maximum stealth, but detection is a bit unforgiving even on the easiest settings, and once they become aware of your presence, they turn pretty aggressive and don't seem to just forget where you were 30 seconds later like some games do. Detection is complicated by the fact that you can be seen, but they also turn to start looking for you once they find a dead body. And since many areas populated by enemies have rather high numbers of enemies in them, it's a pretty simple thing for them to find those bodies. A feature that's seriously lacking in the game is that of moving the bodies. You can sneak up behind someone and drag them away before you knock them out, but once the body is down, you can't move it at all. Given that the enemy uses a downed body as a detection parameter, I think this is a major failing in the game mechanics. Plus, moving guys after you snuck up behind them isn't that effective as a workaround, because after a few seconds of slow movement with them, they struggle free of your grasp and you get a detection, so the risk isn't really worth the reward unless you're very close to cover in the first place. Hopefully, moving bodies is something that can get added to the game before launch. Of course, having everyone hunt you isn't the only reason you'll want to avoid being detected, because many facilities also have siren towers that when activated will call in further reinforcements. These towers can be disabled, rendering them useless if you manage to take them out first. Most often, a solid attempt at stealth starts out well enough, but quickly devolves into an aggressive defense once a body has been spotted or you or a teammate get noticed. And that's not too bad when it's a small house or two with guys in it, but it can get really ugly on larger facilities or encampments, as you then have to fend off the rest of them or just get totally out of the area. That's not to say stealth isn't viable. It definitely is. It's just also rather unforgiving, so if you want to go for complete stealth, then you need to take your time and have a lot of patience. It's doable, but if you rush it and fail to plan ahead, then things will probably wind up going loud. When things are in more of the action phase, the game can feel a bit bullet spongy. Not against the bad guys, but on you. With regenerating health and a fair amount of it to start with, you can take a lot of hits on the easiest difficulty settings. If you want a more authentic experience, dial it up to Ghost difficulty, and you'll go down in one shot in most cases. There's a total of 4 levels of difficulty, so you can find any level of experience in between to suit your skill level and playstyle. I don't have a full breakdown of everything that changes based on difficulty, so I can't speak to that, but you do most certainly die a lot faster the harder things get. Since you can play the game with AI on solo or co-op with your friends, you can wind up with some very different experiences. On solo, you get 3 AI as backup for a team of 4, but if you have a friend hop on with you, then you lose any AI backup. So playing with you and one friend will result in only 2 guns to bring to bear in any given firefight. Since it is up to 4-player co-op, you can make those numbers up though. When playing with AI teammates, you can use a very powerful feature called Sync Shot. Basically, you mark an enemy for your AI to take out, and on your go code, they will drop that target. They're pretty accurate about it too. I've never seen them miss, I don't think they can. And what they'll do is when you mark a target, they'll always try to find that line of sight to the target for a clear shot. Oftentimes that can involve repositioning to different areas from where you last left them. If you don't want them to shoot on a go code, you can also take a shot at a different target while Sync Shot is engaged, and they'll shoot in parity with you. You can make for some effective combos this way, as each of your AI teammates can eventually take 1 sync shot each later on. This comes with a cooldown ability to prevent it from being spammed too much. Sync Shot also works on co-op, but there it functions as more of a way to assign targets to each other, as you still have humans behind the triggers in that case, and people do most definitely miss. AI is also really useful for helping to keep you covered in vehicles. Firing out the windows at hostile targets frees you up for the task of driving. This is one feature that, while possible with real friends, usually doesn't result in very accurate fire as the car bounces around. The AI actually do a much better job at this. Controlling the AI is achieved with a simple command wheel with basic functionality telling them to do a few basic things such as regroup or hold position and a few others. As a ghost, you've got a lot of tools at your disposal. Initially, you don't start with much, but you'll eventually expand your inventory and have lots more options for the kinds of things you can bring to the table. One of your best tools is the aerial drone. This will allow you to scout an area and figure out where everyone is. Just like most other things in the game, you'll be able to customize and grow its abilities over time by doing things like giving it night or thermal vision, expanded range, longer battery life, and lots more. Because of the open world concept, along with the ability to mix and match playstyles and customize most any aspect of the game, from your character to weapons and loadout, the emphasis in Ghost Recon Wildlands is really all about freedom and exploration. Now, I will be spending a lot of time in-game with friends for sure. I just love that kind of gameplay. I've been all about Ghost Recon, and while this is a new open world type experience for the franchise, it's just a lot of fun to play. Well, that wraps up this overview of Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now, if you want to stay up to date with all the news and information for Ghost Recon or Rainbow Six Siege, then please like and subscribe. You can also follow me over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.